Man, don't tell me about me or saying anything about me being a cop hater and all that. I have family that's in the police force. I have good friends that are in the police force. So, it's the fact that, the bad cops are endangering the good cops. So I decided to make this video because I see it's a lot of people on social media now that the whole Colin Kaepernick Nike situation has been out there for a little bit. You have people burning their Nikes, mostly white folks. Let's keep it real. Some white folks that are burning Nikes and not going to buy Nikes anymore because Colin Kaepernick is put out front by Nike. The good news is the white nationalist party are coming out with their own sneakers, the Rebs and the Air Rebs, so you can rock them instead of rocking Nikes. Now let's understand something. You can do what you want, but let's understand. You need to understand what you're doing. And it's a lot of white folks that I know that I don't believe that they're prejudiced or bigoted or anything like that. But yet and still they want to protest Nike and burn their Nike gear because of Colin Kaepernick. Now let's understand what you're doing. Because you don't get to define why he's protesting. Okay, why he's protesting is pretty clear. He explained it. You have a lot of people who, you have other NFL players who explain why they're protesting. They did the protest in the NFL. And it's about the social injustice being done to this my group, ethnic group, the black community group, from police officers murdering our children and our people. Okay, so let's understand that these are not your ethnic group being murdered. So to a certain extent, for some white folks, I don't expect you to get it. Because it's not your child or someone who looks like your child being killed in cold blood with a toy gun or with a supposed cell phone or just nothing at all. So you're not going to understand this whole protest and why we're doing it. You're going to take the narrative of people who don't know what they're talking about. So I'm not going to say that you're a bigot, but I will say that you're ignorant. Okay? You're ignorant. And what you need to do, if you can't take yourself outside yourself and put yourself in the shoes of a people, whereas though these killings are being done, then you need to remove yourself from the conversation or do your own research. Okay? What burns me more than anything is you do have these paid brothers on TV that are trashing Colin Kaepernick for $1. Namely, Mr. Potato Head Jason Whitlock with his Mr. Potato Head ass, with his Uncle Ruckus ass. Now let's be clear. The Star Spangled Banner was written by Francis Scott Key, okay, who was a known bigot, okay, and one of the verses basically championed slavery. He wanted slavery. Do your research. So by that alone, you need to understand that the national anthem don't mean nothing to me. Don't mean nothing to a lot of people. that look like me, okay? But if you, some white folks, y'all not gonna understand that. And y'all not gonna care about why we're protesting. And that's fine. But for those of you who I know that are not bigots or racists, the white folks that I know, you know, you can't define why they're protesting, why Colin Kaepernick is protesting. You know, you don't have a right to do that. Okay? The man said why he's doing it, and yet you want to put your own spin on it. You know, just like that orange dude in the White House. You know, it's about the social injustice being done by folks that look like me. Because I'm going to tell you, my kids, you know, when I see something like that happen, I'm thinking about my kids. Okay? When you see something like that, you're not thinking about your kids. Because it's not happening to children that look like your children. Okay, so let's be clear. You're not going to have the same reaction when you see somebody on see a news report about yet another young man or a woman being killed by police, with them being unarmed, etc., etc. So you're just not going to understand it. But you don't get to define why he's protesting. And there's nothing wrong with peaceful protest. Okay? So you can shove that disrespecting military bullshit straight up your ass. Okay? Do your own research. Okay? Remember, the national anthem was written by a bigot. Okay? They took out the racist verse in the Star Spangled Banner and then left it, you know, left the rest of it. But it still doesn't take away the fact that it was written by a bigot who wanted slavery. Okay? Fact check me. Peace. Ultimately, the ones that I know that have an issue with Colin Kaepernick are never going to understand the plight of a black man or woman. Okay? The bottom line is we're the ones that are discriminated against. Okay? Most white folks don't know, almost all white folks don't know what that feels like.
What is it about the Negro? I mean, every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
White America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma. America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps, but it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless. as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.